So this Virginia Essene, tell us the story about Virginia. Wasn't she like a magical person in our ministry?
Yeah, in October of '97, when I was at a holistic health conference in Monterey, I met Virginia for the first time, and intuitively we connected right away. She's a very special lady, special in that she was open and receptive to all kinds of spiritual information that we acquired to help us grow or ascend or expand our spiritual awareness. And she had written something like 22 books and established a foundation, the C Foundation, for publishing the books. And she had just like I met her at this meeting, she met Tom, the Tom Kenyon, who became the co-author, uh, was actually instrumental. Tom was the one that was connected to the Harthur people. The Harthur people were the picture you see on the book there is an image of what they once looked like when in Egypt. That was an image taken from Egypt. They were the people that augmented the Egyptian priests in their endeavor to express more enlightened way of being in the world. So they are a group of spiritual individuals that live in the fourth dimension. And their purpose, their intention of helping us here is to help us grow spiritually. And the book gives a tremendous amount of insights and practices to assist us in our endeavor to grow spiritually. Um, so she and Virginia and Tom really connected, and Virginia became the interviewer. So when Tom was bringing through the hearth or society people of bringing forth this information, she was also recording it, and she was asking many, many questions that you and I might have thought of. Uh, so once we get into the book and do a process here, if you decide you like it, I would encourage you to buy the book because they make it very very clear. They're not here to um, try to force us to do anything. They're here to make suggestions, and we can accept them or reject them. Um, I met a woman that once was involved in the fifth dimension, and she was connected. The fifth dimension is where we think of the angels, the angelic kingdom. We're in the third dimension, and there are dimensions way beyond what the Harthers. There's a lot deeper teachings uh, that we haven't even begun to become aware of. But they're helping us in their endeavor to increase our awareness and move up. What they talk about is there's a pranic tube. Now, in meditation, most of us there's a picture of the pranic tube. Uh, the pranic tube, if you're involved in any kind of meditation, that endeavors to clear the chakras. We go up and down the spine, which is the same idea. Um, what they're doing is saying that the pranic tube, they call the KKAK, is the central system. Uh, they liken it to the universe. Our universe has a central sun, and of which everything else evolves around it. And so within the human nature, the pranic tube is our central sun, of which everything else evolves. Um, and later in the book, you find out things like the importance of uh, our relationships, not just to one another, but our relationships to the animal kingdom, to the earth, to the winds, to the fire, to the earth, that we're all interconnected and are the same things that make up the earth, the ingredients in the earth are within our own bodies. Um, so we need to, if we're going to grow spiritually, we have to honor not just our relationships with each other, we have to honor our relationships with the earth and with all the elements that make life happen. And then the goal, of course, is to, like in yoga, become one with the universal presence some of us call God. So that is the goal. And their particular teaching is coming through the feeling nature or feeling nature. Everybody has feelings. Now, some of us, like me, tend to be more mental and have not paid that as much attention to my feeling nature. But from their perspective, it's our feeling nature that will drive us into greater spiritual awareness. It has to come through our feeling nature. And so when we name our feelings, when we give a name to our feelings, then they become emotions. That's how we differentiate, or how they differentiate between the feelings become emotions when we label them. So the purpose of the exercise we'll be doing this morning, first exercise, we'll be going through the pranic tube. We'll get in a meditative state, either sitting down or lying down, and we'll bring what I call the prana, the life force, through us from the central sun, and we'll do it with our breath. So we'll breathe it in and feel it come down through our whole body system and go into the earth, to the earth's core, which is it's another energy field. And then we'll reverse it. Our breath will take it up through our pranic tube and up to the solar sun. And we'll do that exercise for a while until you get a sense of completion with it and get a feeling of it happening, whether it's in your imagination or in your feeling nature. The goal is to get into our feeling nature. And once we do that, then we will do another process that will enhance the ability to awaken. What we'll do with the next process will be um, getting in touch with our negative feelings. We'll go into our feeling nature and create a time or a space or an incident that brought us into a negative feeling. Like I did one this morning, and the negative feeling that I had was um, when I totally got frozen. It was summertime. It was nice out, and my body just turned cold. My teeth chattered, and my body went really cold, so cold that I could hardly function well. And fortunately, I was able to drive to the doctor's local, and they called an ambulance, and they found out in the hospital that I had two infections that were both very serious. Either one could have killed you. Um, Unfortunately, they found the right antibiotics, and I pulled through. Um, so I got in touch with that feeling of being very cold and seeing what I could learn from it. So that's kind of the idea. We'll have the opportunity when we go through this process of meditation through the pranic tube, and then we'll shift over to doing a process for feeling nature. Um, how does that sound?
Sounds good. Let's go.
Yeah. The there's a lot of some people absolutely would deny that we can communicate with people from other dimensions. But there's so much evidence out there. The Alice Bailey books were channeled by the Tibetan, which brought through some wonderful information that the people that were able to use it, like Roberto Assagioli, the psychiatrist in Italy, used it in his endeavor to help his patients, and it was wonderful. So there are a lot of teachings. The Course in Miracles was channeled by people who didn't know anything about channeling from another source, and that source was considered to be Jesus. And if you've ever studied the Course of Miracles, it's a beautiful way to grow, to learn, to express more spirituality. So I think people that would deny uh, are getting information from other sources or other life forms are missing the boat. But that's our choices. So, uh, Laura, are you ready to kind of do an opening prayer or,
Sure.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Father God, creator of all that is, we come to you today humble and grateful for each day that we have on this earth plane. And we ask that you bring healing to all those who are in need of healing. And we ask you to bless us on this beautiful day. And may we all learn and absorb the information that we are about to listen to. So be it. So it is.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, so I'm sure you've all been involved in meditation before, and you may have been involved in chakra type meditation. And this is very similar to that. So get yourself in a relaxed position. Or if you want to lay down, you can. If you want to just do it sitting up, center yourself. So You become still, you become quiet. Okay, now imagine as you breathe in the air, imagine the energy from the sun is now coming down, the central sun is coming down through your ponic tube, through your vertebrae, and going into the earth as far as the earth's core. And then from the earth's core, you do the same thing. You breathe. As you breathe in, feel the energy going up through your conic tube, in and out to the central sun. And you keep repeating that exercise as you breathe in, and you go down, earth's core. And when you breathe out, you come up through the conic tube, to ground, and to the sun. And you keep repeating that process until we're ready to stop. So certainly do it for a few minutes. As you do it, become increasingly aware of your feelings, your feeling nature. Feel the, feel the, okay. Now, in this state of consciousness, bring to mind a negative feeling, a negative experience, and see if you can feel that experience. Feel the experience. give it a size or shape, color. Good, good. Now you can slowly open your eyes and look on the screen at the pranic tube. See the beautiful colors and the Buddha. Okay. Now, would anybody share their experience? What did you feel? If you didn't feel anything, that's all right too. There's no wrongs, no rights.
I love this process where it's like washing my field clear. And just this visual too, to me, means a lot because it's the pranic tube, it's the center of source within you and without, and it's the spiral going in and out, up and down, and then the toric field around it. And to me, that just kind of sums it up. It's this is who we are, this is our essence. And at any point, if we do have these emotions or these negative feelings, this clearing exercise is just, it's like taking a shower. It's like, okay, I can shed all that negativity and I can come back to centeredness and be in this field of absolute pure love.
So, Nikki, did you get in touch with any negative feelings?
Yeah. I had some conflict yesterday and I pinpointed it at my source point, the yellow chakra. And I kind of cleared that out with this method. Kind of even looking at the visual helps me do the clearing because it reminds me not to just think about it, but to actually see it and then put it into practice.
That's a beautiful visual. Anyone else?
There's something that I've been worried about that is definitely outside my control. And I visualized it as something that was green and all encompassing, and that I hadn't been able to get a grasp on. And it helps to visualize it and to see it as something that has something that I can visualize. And but also to know that it's something that I do not have control over, and to let it go.
You had a visualization. Did you have any feeling involved with it?
Yeah, that it's not mine and that I don't have any control, and that that there comes some peace with that, with just letting go of it.
So, like a feeling of helplessness?
I've been feeling very helpless with it, but this is more a feeling of peace, of letting just letting it go, giving myself permission to just not grasp so hard, and knowing that it's something that is outside my realm of control.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Nikki. Anyone else?
So this is Katrina Charlie. So I came in, of course, a little bit late, but I just felt like immediately drawn in. And when I see this image, what I feel when I see this and what I normally feel, this kind of helps me put it into perspective. This field, I always see filling with light, kind of like the middle of a light bulb. And the things that I carry with me that I'm ready to release, uh, the things that I carry with me that I'm ready to release have a weight to them. And so that's how I know that they don't belong. Worry, anything I feel sick about, things someone else has mentioned that are things that are beyond your control. Those are the things that um, carry those negative emotions for you, and they just sit and they feel heavier. And this field, like I said, for me, it feels like I'm in the middle of a light bulb. It's filled with light. And as it's filled with light, those things that I carry with me that I'm ready to release, I can see them as dense figures. And the more light that my field is filled with, um, it sort of burns those things away and carries them up to be, how do I say it? Um, to be changed, since everything is energy, to be changed in something more positive. And so with that, I feel lighter as those things that I want to release are burned away, carried away, transfigured into something else, something higher vibing. And so then I just see myself filled with golden light, bright white and golden light. And I feel more like me, like I'm supposed to be, more in balance. And I see myself in the middle of that, just like that figure, the Buddha. But yeah, it's like being in a light bulb. It's just filled with the light of everything.
I love that analogy to the light bulb. I mean, to me, that's kind of the source and the energy or the core of where we need to be the healthiest and the wholest. And as Charlie says all the time, transmutation is really the ultimate goal, that we take these negative energies. And I've had issues with reptilian energy in the past. And I kind of imagine looking at this image. I'm a visual person, can you tell? Of a dragon or a reptile type thing coming in and trying to pierce my aura and my space and my, flow. And to think about taking that and either consuming it or transmuting it and then spitting it out back to the universe, back to the field to be transmuted back into whether it's cosmic energy or the energy of the sun or the center of the light bulb. Yesterday we were talking about the website colors, and Caitlin brought up the flame of a candle. You have these orange and yellow and red kind of colors, and that's just an essence that can shift and change and evolve as we're dealing with life and everything that we deal with. So I really like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both, Katrina. That was very nice. And Nikki. Um, yes, and for me, I am very visual as well. I'm very mental, and I'm endeavoring to get into the feeling aspects of what I'm going through. Um, and but what I understand, the more I'm able to do that, the more intuitive I can be. Because for me, intuition comes through the feeling nature, um, and it helps me along with that. Is there anyone else? Is anyone else with us? Is Kevin here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie,
Yeah, visually, I had the image of a water pump, pumping water, uh, basically punching spiritual essence up through the prana channel. Uh, and the emotion I felt was I was what I perceived to be uh, I was severely disrespected about a year ago, and I dealt with that. And with the water pump method or thinking, I was able to flush those negative feelings through my system. And that helped me deal with the feeling of feeling disrespected, sort of thing. And today's the first day I've heard of the prana channel. And it's a sort of thing that I've always had in my mind. That the beam of light comes down through and hits my heart and blasts off into a rainbow into the extremities. So it's good to see a visualization of what I've always figured happens, So thank you for that.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad you got in touch with the water. The four elements are very important in finding homeostasis or balance within our life, and they're all good. So we often use fire to burn away the dross out of metal, and we have to use water to put out the fire which is too strong. And we use the earth and the ingredients from the earth, and we use herbs and food and all that kind of stuff to help us grow and to provide more energy for us. So all the four elements we're so integrated, and as you well know, our body is like 90% water, but more than that, it has more air and space. So the air elements play a big part in our development. And so we don't want to deny any aspects of the four elements. We need to find that they help us produce harmony in our pranic tube. So that was a great example of using water. Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie, it's Laura. What I got was I noticed that all my chakras were just shining as that was moving down through that chronic channel, chronic channel. And then when I looked at the image, that's exactly how I felt. And my negative thing was someone said something to me last night about they didn't like something that I did, and I just let that go because it was my feeling. And if her feelings are different, that's okay. But she can't tell me that my feelings are wrong because my feelings are my feelings. And I like that the four elements because I went drumming yesterday, and one of the songs that we sing is earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire is my spirit.
And
So I
that's,
like that connection.
yeah, that's a good way to make a connection.
Yeah.
At Meditation Mount, we always honored not just the four directions, but the six directions: east, north, west, south, up and down, or below and above.
Yeah.
So, and in the initiation of our meditation, or we honored that. So you're doing essentially the same thing, which is another version of it. Wonderful. I'm glad you had such wonderful experiences. I've gotten a lot of value so far from this book, and I had this book many years ago, and one of other Virginia Scene's books, they brought through the information on the 12 precious, semi-precious stones. And in the Bible interpretation, they were incorrect in 2 or 3 of the stones, and they were able to correct them. So when I got those, I got the right ones, and then I put them like a clock around on one of our meetings, and the energy level that was there was amazing. So there again, here we're using Mother Earth or gems or stones in part of our ceremony. And we definitely got some vibes from that. So everything's interconnected. And the more we realize that, I think the more healthier we are. Later in the book, it talks about there's a pyramid. It uses a pyramid as symbology, and that there are 4 corners of the pyramid, and it creates a spiral going up. And on those 4 corners represents our relationships with each other. Another corner represents our relationships with like Mother Earth. Anyway, that's a lecture for another time when I'm more familiar with it. But the whole idea is that there's the cornerstone. There's 4 things that we need to have good relationships with in a balanced way. You know, for instance, if we're holding a grievance against a brother or a sister or whoever, or Trump, or whatever it is, we're holding a grievance, it's going to cause an emotional blockage. It'll come up in our feeling nature. So the way I've endeavored to deal with that is I may not like the way a person is behaving. I might not like what they're doing, and that's all right. And I might challenge it, but I will never condemn the person because that person is an element of me. And if I condemn that person, I'm condemning a part of myself. And so then the pranic too would have a glitch, would not have a clear way of communicating. There we have time for the next exercise. That was part A in the book of the exercise. There's an exercise. I want to say this, that I mentioned it a minute ago. A feeling is a neutral sensory experience, but once it is judged and influenced by thought, it then takes on a different frequent quality and is called an emotion. I thought Virginia asked that question and came up with that answer. She asked a lot of good questions of the Hawthorns. So the next exercise, these exercises are called self-mastery exercises, number 2. This is part B of what we just did. In this process, we simply to take a moment in the day and recall loving, accepting feelings, and then maintain them for 2 or 3 minutes. A further help is to intermittently remember those loving feelings throughout the day. Intensify the feelings so that the emotions body vibrates with these feelings. Intensify them so that the chi, or the pranic tube, responds and the physical body will follow. It is a wonderful, pleasurable experience, and it strengthens your ability to hold coherent emotions, which is crucial as one moves into the higher dimension spiral. It also helps your DNA. And later in the book, you'll notice, and we get involved in science, and we think we're locked into a DNA or something we've inherited. We're totally locked in. It's not true. Everything in the universe is changeable. It's mutable. It, it and so scientists are also finding today they can kind of influence the DNA, or they can influence and make changes, and they're just at the uh, beginning frontier of what's in this book, about what the authors have known for a long time. So if you'd like to, we'll do that self-mastery exercise number 2, part B, and we'll start the exercise again by doing the pranic 2, by breathing in and breathing out. And as we breathe in, I like to move up the tube or breathe out and then I like to get to the central sun and bring that down through my breath down again through the pranic tube to the central core. And there's fire in both those aspects of our life. Without the fire, we wouldn't be here, without the warmth. And within that, there's a guidance system. So if you're ready, I suggest you get into your meditative state. You sit still or lie down, be quiet, and begin to take in a deep breath. And as you expel it, as you let it out, move up the pranic tube, all the way up to the tube into the central core of the sun. And once you're there and you're breathing again, you can breathe out the pranic energy down through your pranic tube and into the core of the earth. And repeat that for a few moments, a couple of minutes maybe. So now as you're doing that, remember, feel the time when you were happy, joyful. Feel the time that you're in serenity and peace. Feel the time where you're joyful. Choose a feeling. And when you find that feeling or emotion, feel it, acknowledge it. Feel that wonderful, pleasurable experience. And those wonderful feelings move us up to the kai, up the spiral, and in itself raises our spiritual being in the world. Now you can choose another moment, another time when you were in harmony, that you were at peace, the serenity, maybe in Mother Nature. Embracing love and acceptance, healing the past. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and share your experience, if you would.
Well, I found it very emotional. The two moments I thought of was the day I was married, and I had two relatives who both decided that it was just time to transition, and they refused life-saving technology, whatever. But I felt an incredible peace with their death because they were doing what was right for them. And it was hard to say goodbye, but I know it was the right thing for them to do. And that gave me peace. And also, when I thought of the day I got married, I felt the incredible love in the room. And that love just flowed through me. Back to the water analogy again. It was like a pump of spirit was being sent down the pranic tube kind of thing, and I found it incredibly emotional.
Wow.
But it was good for the soul to think of the good things in life and not just the bad things that try to ruin our day.
That was beautiful, and how you transitioned from the feeling, you gave it a label and made it, turned it into an emotion that you
Yeah.
could talk about. Yeah, and it's wonderful that you acknowledged the people that were passing, and you were very at peace yourself with that. Um, And it's interesting, he became a funeral director. Yeah. As well. Well, thank you, Kevin. That was very nice. Anyone else? You know, I can't see who's in the room with my computer, so let's see. Maybe there's a way. Okay.
Well, I had a blast with it. I was doing the exercise with my eyes closed, and then I just opened just to look at this image again, and it was moving. The light centers were enhancing and then diminishing. And then I had the light going up into the spiral above, and then the light went down. So it was like rainbow everywhere, but it was all in motion. And so I played with it. I was being in joy and being playful. And so it's like, okay, is that moving to my heartbeat or is it moving to my respirations? And neither was true. I said, okay, was it moving to the thoughts and the feelings I was having as I was doing these two joyful and loving moments? And that's when the magic was happening. And I can't even say that it was me breathing, but it was like that light was breathing and moving and evolving and
Yeah.
shifting. It was gorgeous.
I'm one with the force.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And right now the tube is glowing. Wow.
Wow. Anything, Jane?
No, I don't think so. Just that the idea of light within like that and staying centered within yourself, I think is really important to me. I tend to get scattered sometimes and to get pulled outside and to, as I was saying earlier, to have to get caught up in the fallacy that I can control things that I can't. And so staying centered within oneself is really important.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. I had an incident this week in a relationship, and um, it's something I said to the person. It was a knee-jerk reaction, and they just um, wanted to run away. Um, it was like unrational behavior, but I guess in the end, it's really rational. Um, it elicited a feeling within the person that they weren't being loved, uh, that they were being diminished in the way people thought about them, including me, including their father, etc. Um, so what was wonderful about that is a few days later we had a discussion about it, and the person realized it was a knee-jerk reaction to a deep down feeling, and I think it's an opportunity for growth when you can get in touch with those kind of feelings that cause you to run away or hide or abandon rather than to synthesize within oneself. Um, so what occurred to me that I shared with this person was, I guess in psychology, they have a poor self-image, and so they end up belittling themselves when they hear a criticism or something, and they beat themselves up, and as long as they do that, then their kai, their life force, is going to be a problem. But if you can learn from the negative emotion that you've elicited in your life, then you can transmute it. And I think that's wonderful because we're all in our relationships with others. We sometimes want to avoid a person and get away from them, can't stand them. But that's an opportunity for us to get centered in our pranic tube, in our kai, and not label it a feeling anymore, not identify it, not to code it, to just acknowledge it's a feeling that we have about somebody else, and it's just a feeling, and we can let it go, and we can then have a relationship that's more holistic. Anyway, that's my take on it. Okay, so I don't really have anything else to do. I've gone into some more chapters. There's a chapter on the fear of opening, which maybe we'll talk about next week. That's another fear, that we're afraid to open up to our feelings. We're closed down and become hibernate. We avoid life instead of enjoy life. So, unless anyone else has got anything else to chat about, I feel I'm complete.
So do you want to bring that next week? What should we title it?
Yeah, I think I would definitely want to go into it because it gets deeper into.
Yeah.
I told you the metaphor for a pyramid and the four corners of the pyramid, whether the relationships with Mother Earth or with water, fire, there, or with people, they all have to be integrated within ourselves. As I learn more about it, I'll share it next week, and we'll have some more exercises.
Cool. It was very
Well,
compelling. Thank you.
it was. I'll be on time next week. These conversations make me very happy. I feel like we can probably talk for hours on end, Charlie. Like a lot of what you're talking about are the tenets of what we call, the magical studies on a deeper level. Healing on a shamanistic level. Some of what you've done today is like aura clearing. I could probably literally talk to you for hours about different things and not get bored of it. So I'm very excited about this. Like even the elements, do you know with incantations, there's an element for every there's a the line for every element in that, it's just I'll be on time next week.
Good, Katrina. I appreciate that. And thank you for your input. It's, to me, experiential part of learning
Yeah.
makes it's important. It's maybe more critical than the lecturing part, because we integrate it within ourselves.
Yeah.
My wife was a wonderful teacher, and one of the ways she helped the audience overcome resistance, you know, resistance to a doctor, blonde haired lady, or whatever their resistance was, she would use humor. And once you use humor, you break down the barriers, because humor is the joy of life. And the joy is just like the peace within us. Once you do that, then you're more receptive to learning. And when she taught them things like life isn't fair, when you really look at life, everybody's, I have members of my family saying, it's not fair that I do something for somebody else and not for them. So I'm telling you, the person that's telling me that said, that's an opportunity for you to look at that. And we call that jealousy. Do you really want to be stuck in jealousy, or do you want to grow? So, yes, it's a wonderful opportunity to go through these experiential exercises because it's all about self mastery. It's all about learning to move through the negativity that is in our life and bringing out the good or the godlikeness, the peacefulness, the joy of living. And one of the things that I've noticed in my life is I love life. I love watching little kids. I like talking to older people. I just love life. I love puppies. I love life for what it is, and my little puppy is like my little unconditional Buddha.
Yeah.
It's just so loving and so giving. And, this morning when it snuggled me and up to me at like 6 o'clock this morning. And so when I got up and I petted it and it loves to have me rub its tummy, right? And so when I'm getting dressed, I'm bending over and it's licking my butt. And I said, boy, that's love. That's more love than I have, probably.
That's funny. No matter
God,
what part of you.
yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share what I'm learning. And I intend to get through this book again and be happy to share what I've learned. But I'd also encourage you, if you're interested in the subject matter, I'm sure you can find this book, The Harther Material by Tom Kenyon and Virginia Scene. Oh, you invited me to do this topic, Nikki, because you know that in my lifetime, I've certainly demonstrated the ease of letting go, and often by letting go of a house for,
Yeah, that's a big
43
one.
years,
Yeah,
letting go of a relationship for 67 years.
yeah,
That's not saying I don't get stuck in some matters, and I certainly do.
yeah,
And I'm here to grow. But the other thing is, Virginia Scene, uh, talking about letting go, when she was in hospice making her transition, she had two of her three closest spiritual friends being with her, knowing that death is just the portal, and supporting her with their love. And that was wonderful. So that was a very good demonstration of letting go of our body form and moving into another dimension of life. And the other thing that I've always seemed to know that this book reinforces is that there's like a divine archetype of each of us. And that archetype lives on and on. And it is the driving force that creates the material aspect of who we are. And as we change and creates another life for us in another time, another space. So for me, there is a divine archetype. Um, there's a connection to all life. And so part of that is like Frank Sinatra, doing it my way. You can't live your life for others. You've got to find a way to celebrate life within your own mentality, within your own feeling nature. That's what I know.
I got to run. I have another
beautiful.
appointment. But thank you, Charlie. That was great. That was very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Look
Okay,
forward to the
hope to
next
see
one.
you next week, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for
Blessing.
being here, Jean. I can just picture you and Bobby in your early years.
They did not
Powerhouses.
look alike.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Bye
Thanks.
now.
Loved having you here.
Thanks.
Bye bye, everybody.
All right. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Blessings.